Welcome to Jeff's Baking Blog. Today I'm going to make a cake which can be found on King Arthur Baking, and it's they call it a farmhouse buttermilk cake. I'm calling it an easy buttermilk cake with pecans because I've varied it very slightly. Basically my variation is to cut it down by half. They've on that website they used a 9 by 13 inch rectangular pan to make theirs. I'm using a 9-inch round cake tin, and I've started off by greasing it and lining it with parchment paper. This is deeper than I need, but it will fit the purpose. And it's actually quite a simple cake. You simply mix the ingredients together, but the twist is that having baked it for 25 to 30 minutes, you then pour a pecan and butter and sugar mixture over the top and put it in the oven and bake it again for a further 10 minutes. Then you take it out and leave it to cool completely for several hours until the glaze mixture on the top actually sets. Then it's ready for cutting and eating. So I start off by preheating my oven to 180 degrees Celsius. That's 160 Celsius with a fan, 350 Fahrenheit. And I'll go on to the ingredients. And for the cake I have 180 grams, which is 1 cup plus 3 tablespoons of plain flour. That's based on scooping packed flour into a 250 milliliter cup. I have 200 grams, 1 cup of light brown sugar. That's a packed cup of light brown sugar. I have 240 milliliters, 1 cup of buttermilk. Now mine's actually a buttermilk substitute. I've taken a cup of milk, removed a tablespoon of that and added in a tablespoon of lemon juice, and I've left it to sit for about 10 minutes and it's curdled into a nice buttermilk substitute. I have 56 grams, 4 tablespoons of butter, unsalted butter at room temperature. It's softened slightly. I have 1 medium egg, which would be large in the USA, 5 milliliters, a teaspoon of vanilla extract, 3 grams, half a teaspoon of salt, and 4 grams, half a whole teaspoon of baking soda. And then for the mixture on top, I have 42 grams of unsalted butter, which I will melt ready for when I need it. That's 3 tablespoons. I have 56 grams, which is about half a cup of pecans chopped into fairly small pieces. I have 100 grams, half a cup, again packed, light brown sugar, 30 milliliters, 2 tablespoons of milk, and just a pinch of salt. So I don't need the ingredients for the topping just yet, so I'll put those to one side and we'll go on to make the cake batter. And I'm going to start off simply by putting my baking soda and my salt into the flour, and I'm going to stir that around because I will sift that onto the wet mixture later, but I want to make sure that I've got the baking soda and the salt mixed in a little bit before I sift it. So I'll set that to one side. I'll take a larger bowl, and in this bowl I'm going to put my sugar and butter, and I'm going to mix those together with my hand mixer. You can do it by hand, but it's harder work than using a hand mixer. And I'm going to mix that until they're fully combined. So I've got that mixed together, and it doesn't come into a thick paste simply because the ratio of butter to sugar is quite low. So I'm going to add my egg in, and that will loosen that mixture up, and I'm going to whisk that until it's combined as well. So that's quite nicely mixed. I'll put the vanilla in as well and give that a quick whiz. And then I'm going to pour in my buttermilk. I'll mix that around, get that combined. That's good enough, and that looks as though it's a little bit curdled, but it will do because the acidity in the buttermilk will react. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to sift my dry mixture onto the top of that, and then I'm going to fold it in. So I'll simply fold that in. I think you could do it with the mixer as well, but it won't take long by hand. And with that mixed through, there may be a couple of little lumps left. It doesn't really matter, I don't think. And I'm going to pour that into my cake tin. I need to act quite quickly because the baking soda reacts as soon as it comes into contact with something acidic such as the buttermilk. So we need to get that in the oven before it's used up all its rising energy. So I'm just going to spread that onto my tin like that, and I'm going to put that into the oven, and I'm going to bake it for 25 minutes, and after 25 minutes I'll take it out and we'll be ready to put our wet mixture on the top and bake it again. But I'll come back and we'll do that once it's baked for 25 minutes. So as the cake bakes, I've put my half a cup of sugar in the bowl, and I've partially melted the butter. It's not completely melted, but it's good enough. So I'm going to put that in as well, together with the milk and the pinch of salt. And I'm going to whisk those around. And I'm just going to leave that like that, and at the last minute I will stir in the pecans as well. But first of all we need our cake to be baked, so I'll be back when that is baked for the 25 minutes. I cooked my cake for 30 minutes, and then I tested it and it was quite firm on the top, so it should be cooked through. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pour my mixture over the top. Now in the original recipe it mixes the pecans with this mixture, but I'm going to add the pecans separately because I think that allows me to spread it over more evenly. And we're going to spread that around. And then I'm going to sprinkle the pecans onto the top. Like that. And I'm simply going to put that into the oven, and I'm going to bake it for a further 10 minutes. And after 10 minutes I'll take it out of the oven, and I'm going to leave it to cool in the pan, and I'm going to leave it until it's cooled completely in the pan, and that's going to take several hours. And once it's cooled and set on the top, I'll come back and I'll show it to you and we'll have a taste of it. Well, I baked the buttermilk cake for an additional 10 minutes, and I took it out of the oven and allowed it to cool down, and I left it to cool in the tin for at least 2 hours before I took it out. Then I left it to cool for longer before I took the base off, and so now it's ready to be eaten. Now I just want to say before I show it to you that I did mention to bake for 25 to 35 minutes, and I'm going to adjust that in the written recipe to bake for 30 to 35 minutes, because I think the important thing is that it's baked all the way through before it comes out to have the topping put on. So that being said, I've cut mine, and this is what it looks like now. So the top has firmed up quite nicely, and I've cut a slice out of it, and some of the juice has just seeped into the cake, as you would expect during the additional 10 minutes of baking. So it looks quite good, I have to say, and I'll have a taste of it. The cake is lovely and soft, and then you've got the crunchiness and the sweet caramel type flavour from the topping and from the pecans. Very, very good indeed, I have to say. I think this would be ideal with some cream as well, served with a little dollop of cream or something as a dessert. So it's a very good recipe from King Arthur Baking, although I've adapted it, as I say, for half the size basically. So that's going to be it for this video, and I hope you've enjoyed it, and if you have, please give me the thumbs up below and click to subscribe to my YouTube channel. In the top right hand corner of the screen there will be an eye that you can click on, and that will take you to a link for the recipe, and I'll put a link below the video as well, and I'll be back with another recipe in the very near future. So until then, happy baking.